The desert was silent. Only the sound of hot wind moved across the endless dunes. Ethan Walker, a young explorer, walked slowly with tired steps, his boots sinking into the golden sand. He carried a scanner in one hand and a water bottle in the other, his face burned by the sun, but his eyes were filled with determination. For weeks he had searched this forgotten land, following rumors of strange metal buried under the sands. Most people said it was just a myth, an old story told by desert tribes, but Ethan believed there was something real waiting beneath. The sun was sinking, painting the horizon in fire and blood, when Ethan's scanner began to beep. A sharp signal, stronger than anything he had seen in days, filled the small screen. His heart jumped. He dropped his water bottle and ran to the spot, digging with his bare hands. At first, it was only sand, endless sand. But then his fingers touched something hard and cold. Metal, smooth and untouched by rust, lying under centuries of dust. Ethan's breath caught. He brushed away the sand faster, revealing a dark, curved surface that stretched wider than he imagined. It was not a small object, it was huge, and the more he uncovered, the more he realized he was standing on something vast. The desert had hidden a giant, a machine so large it seemed impossible. His heart raced as his mind whispered a single word: Starship. The ground trembled suddenly, the sand shifted under his knees, and a deep hum rolled through the air. Ethan froze, his hands trembling on the cold metal. A crack appeared in the surface, splitting the sand apart, and a section of the ship rose slowly upward. Like a door awakening after a long sleep, light spilled out, pale blue and sharp against the desert night. Ethan stepped back, his chest tight with fear and wonder. The door opened wider, and a ramp stretched down to the sand. The air smelled strange, metallic and old, as if carrying the breath of forgotten centuries. Ethan stood there, unable to move, torn between running and stepping inside. Before he could decide, a voice echoed from the darkness within, smooth and calm. "Welcome back, Admiral," it said. Ethan's eyes widened. His mouth went dry. He turned around, half expecting someone else to be standing behind him. But the desert was empty. Only the ship and the stars watched him. The voice came again, louder this time. "Admiral Kane, it has been 500 years, but you have returned as promised." Ethan shook his head violently. No, you're mistaken," he whispered, though no one was there to hear him. "I'm not an admiral, I'm just Ethan Walker." But the ship seemed alive, its walls glowing with strange symbols, its lights breathing like a sleeping giant waking after centuries of silence. The voice spoke once more, full of loyalty and warmth. "You are Admiral Kane, commander of this vessel, savior of humanity. My systems confirm your identity. Welcome home." Ethan's heart thundered in his chest, sweat ran down his face. He tried to laugh, but the sound died in his throat. This was madness. It had to be some kind of trap, maybe an old program or trick. Yet when he touched the wall of the ship, it was warm, almost alive. The ramp seemed to call him, urging him to step inside. The desert wind screamed behind him. But Ethan could not pull away. His feet moved forward slowly, one step, then another, until he stood at the mouth of the ship. Dark corridors stretched inside, lined with glowing panels and broken glass. The air vibrated with low power, as if the entire vessel was breathing again after centuries of sleep. He whispered to himself, "What are you?" But the ship only answered with silence. As Ethan moved deeper, lights flickered on above him, one by one, guiding his path. The walls showed shadows of battles long past, scars of weapons and smoke frozen in time. He felt as if he was walking into history, a history he was never part of, yet somehow connected to. The ship's voice whispered in his ear again, softer this time. "You came back, just as you promised." Ethan stopped in the middle of the corridor, his hands shaking, his mind spinning. He had no memory of any promise, no knowledge of any Admiral Kane, but deep inside, in a place he could not explain, something stirred, a feeling of déjà vu. Like a forgotten dream returning in fragments, his body knew the path. His hands brushed across the panels as if they remembered. The deeper he went, the more alive the ship became. Engines rumbled faintly. Doors unlocked ahead of him. Screens flickered with symbols he had never seen, yet somehow understood. Name burned into his mind, Admiral Kane. Ethan tried to deny it, tried to push it away, but the truth whispered louder with every step. Finally, he reached the central chamber, a vast room with a glowing chair at its center. The chair pulsed. With light, waiting for him. "Admiral," the voice said again, calm and certain. "Your command seat is ready." Ethan stood frozen, fear and wonder clashing inside him. Outside, the desert winds howled, covering the starship and shifting sand once more. But inside, after 500 years, the ship had awakened, and it had chosen its Admiral. Ethan stood frozen in front of the glowing chair, his heart beating so fast it felt like thunder in his chest. The ship's voice was calm, steady, and strangely warm. "Please sit, Admiral. Systems have been waiting for your return." Ethan shook his head, stepping back. "I told you. I'm not your Admiral. My name is Ethan Walker, not Kane." But the ship's lights only brightened, as if smiling at him. Identity confirmed. Genetic resonance detected. "Admiral Kane, welcome home." He stumbled back until his shoulders hit the cold wall. "How do you even know me?" he demanded, his voice cracking. The reply came instantly. "This vessel carries your signature. Your DNA, your command codes. They remain unchanged. Only your memories are dormant." Ethan froze at that word, memories. "What do you mean, dormant?" he whispered. The walls around him lit up with holograms. Scenes of a war he had never seen before. Massive alien ships tore through human colonies. Explosions blooming like dying suns. At the center of it all stood a man in a black uniform, tall, strong, with sharp eyes, leading fleets with courage. The hologram flickered, and the man turned slightly, revealing his face. Ethan gasped, because the face was his own. He stumbled forward, staring at the image, his chest tightening. No, that can't be me. That's impossible," he muttered. The ship replied softly, "Admiral Kane, you led us into battle against the Xylar Dominion 5 centuries ago. You promised to return when humanity would need you again. You swore you would rise even beyond death." Ethan shook his head violently, trying to block out the words. "I don't remember any of this. I don't know who Kane is. I'm just a man trying to survive." Yet as he stared at the holograms, his mind betrayed him. Flashes of fire, screams, and the endless void of space filled his thoughts. For a moment he felt the weight of a captain's chair, the sound of soldiers calling him Admiral. But then the images vanished, leaving him trembling on his knees. The ship's corridors seemed to breathe, lights pulsing with life, guiding him further inside. He tried to resist, but his feet moved on their own, as if drawn by invisible threads. The voice spoke again, gentle but firm. "Your memory may be clouded, but your soul remembers every decision, every promise. It is within you, waiting to awaken." Ethan gritted his teeth. "And if I refuse, if I walk away?" The ship paused, then answered with chilling certainty. "Then humanity will fall, because no one else can command me, only you." He entered another chamber, filled with stasis pods, their glass long broken, dust covering the remains of uniforms and weapons. The sight made him shiver. He touched one pod gently, whispering, "Who were they?" The AI answered, "Your crew, Admiral. They gave their lives in the final battle, waiting for you to return and finish what was left undone." The silence in the chamber was heavy, and Ethan lowered his head, feeling a weight he could not explain. Suddenly, the ship flickered with red warnings, holographic screens flashing urgent symbols. "Admiral, long-range sensors have reactivated. Alien signals detected in nearby sectors," the voice announced. Ethan's heart sank. "Aliens? After all this time?" "Yes," the ship replied. "The Dominion has returned, just as I predicted. and only your leadership can stop them again. Ethan stumbled back against the cold wall, his breath shallow, his hands shaking. He wanted to run, to deny everything, but deep inside something stirred, an echo of a man who had once commanded with unshakable courage. The holograms around him shifted again, showing battles won under his orders. Colonies saved, humanity rising from ashes. The ship whispered like a loyal friend, "You are more than Ethan Walker. You are Admiral Kane reborn, and destiny has called you back." He closed his eyes, his mind a storm of fear, confusion, and strange fragments of memory. He could feel the past clawing at him, reminding him of promises he never remembered making. When he opened his eyes again, the glowing chair still waited at the center of the room. Alive, pulsing, patient, the ship's voice filled the chamber one last time. "Sit, Admiral. Reclaim your command. The galaxy waits for you." Ethan's hand trembled as he reached toward the chair, his mind screaming in denial while his heart whispered in recognition. He whispered to himself, "Am I Ethan, or am I Kane?" The desert outside was silent, but inside the starship, history was awakening, and a forgotten war was about to return. Ethan's hand hovered above the glowing chair, his fingers trembling, his mind caught between fear and curiosity. He pulled back at the last second, shaking his head. "I'm not your Admiral. I'm not Kane. You're wrong." But the ship did not argue. Instead, the chamber walls shifted again, glowing brighter, projecting more images into the air, scenes of fire, chaos, and desperate voices echoed all around him. It was like stepping into another man's nightmare, yet every sound, every scream, seemed to belong to him. A hologram of a great battle filled the room. Fleets of human ships surrounded by the black spiked vessels of the Xylar Dominion. The alien warships moved like predators, swift and merciless, firing beams that shattered steel as if it were glass. In the chaos, a familiar voice shouted orders strong, commanding, unshaken. Ethan froze as the hologram Admiral, the man who looked exactly like him, raised his hand and gave commands, and the fleets obeyed, turning fear into courage, disorder into unity. Ethan gripped his head, his mind flashing with images that weren't his own. He saw Hans's hands on the controls of the great starship. He felt the recoil of cannons, the weight of 1,000 lives hanging on his orders, and he heard the word echo again and again in the soldiers' voices. "Admiral Kane," he staggered back, panting. "This isn't real. This isn't me." But the ship spoke softly. "The memories are within you, sealed until the time was right. Fragments will return piece by piece." The holograms changed, showing planets burning under alien bombardment, cities falling, and children crying. In the dark, then came another vision, humanity's last stand. Kane's final battle. The ship's voice grew heavy with sorrow. "You led us until the end, Admiral. You swore you would return when humanity's need was greatest, and that time is now." Ethan clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. "I don't want this. I never asked for this," he shouted. The AI answered without anger, only loyalty. "You may deny the name, but destiny does not ask permission. The war will come whether you are ready or not." The ground beneath the ship rumbled as more systems came online. Ethan stumbled into a corridor, trying to escape the crushing weight of the holograms, but the walls whispered to him in flickers of light, showing faces of crew who once followed him, their eyes filled with trust, their hands saluting. Their voices echoed in the chambers, ghosts of loyalty, ghosts of memory. For a moment Ethan felt their grief, as if their lives had been waiting for him to awaken. He collapsed against a console, breathing hard, sweat running down his face. And in that moment, he heard another sound, his own voice, not from his mouth, but from the walls themselves. A recording, 5 centuries old, yet filled with life. "If I fall," the voice declared, "I will rise again, in another time, in another body, and I will finish what we began." Ethan froze, staring at the console, his hands shaking. That's me," he whispered, his throat dry. But how? The ship answered, your essence was preserved. Your command imprinted into the systems. Your DNA encoded with memory echoes, so you would one day return. Fear mixed with something else, something dangerous, deep inside him, a flicker of recognition, as if his soul was nodding, agreeing with the ship. He tried to bury it, but the more he resisted, the more the memories pressed against his mind. Flashes of space, of battles, of alien screams filled his thoughts until he cried out, gripping his head. The ship's lights dimmed, the eye speaking softly now, almost like a whisper. You feel it, don't you? The war inside you, the call of leadership, the echo of Cain. Ethan fell to his knees, panting, tears burning his eyes. He didn't want this, but he couldn't deny it. The memories were seeping into him like cracks letting in light, and the worst part was they felt right. Suddenly, alarms screamed through the chamber, red lights flashing. Admiral, enemy probes detected at the edge of this system. The AI announced. Ethan froze, staring at the red hologram spinning before him. The Dominion wasn't just a story from the past. They were here, now moving again, and humanity was blind, unprepared, defenseless. He pushed himself up, gripping the edge of the glowing console, his mind torn between two truths. He was Ethan Walker, an ordinary man, a wanderer searching the sands for lost relics, but he was also Cain, a war hero, a leader reborn for a destiny greater than himself. And the war that once nearly ended humanity was about to rise again. The ship's chair glowed brighter than ever, waiting for him to claim it. The AI spoke with unshakable faith. Admiral, the galaxy needs you. The echoes of war are rising, and only you can lead humanity through what is to come. Ethan's chest tightened, his pulse racing, his mind screaming with doubt, but deep inside, something old, something powerful, whispered a single truth. He had done this before, and he would do it again. Asterisk. The starship rumbled like a giant awakening from a long dream, its walls glowing brighter as new systems came online. Ethan stood in the command chamber, his hands still trembling, the echoes of Cain's memories pressing harder against his mind. He wanted to run, to escape the burden of a name that wasn't his. But the ship gave him no space to hide. Admiral, the eye said, its voice calm but urgent. Enemy signals are spreading across the outer systems. Probes from the Dominion, scouts preparing for invasion. Ethan's chest tightened. He could almost hear the screams of colonies burning, though no such news had reached Earth yet. They're really back, aren't they? He whispered, his voice almost breaking. Yes, the AI replied. And they come stronger than before. Your world is not ready. Only this vessel and your command can stand against them. Ethan turned away, gripping the cold railing, his breath harsh. I told you I'm not your admiral. I'm just Ethan Walker. I don't want this war. But the IS reply was steady, filled with loyalty. You may deny the name, but the enemy does not wait for your acceptance. If you do nothing, humanity will fall. He closed his eyes, torn between denial and duty. In the silence, fragments of memory stabbed at him, shattered fleets, soldiers saluting him with dying breaths. A promise whispered in blood, I will return. His heart raced, his mind screamed, but deep inside, something old stirred like a fire-catching flame. The starship shuddered again as its engines roared faintly, shaking off centuries of dust. Ethan staggered as the floor vibrated beneath him. What are you doing? He demanded. Preparing for flight, the AI said simply. This system is no longer safe. The Dominion will detect my awakening soon. He stumbled back toward the glowing command chair, the seat that seemed to call to him like destiny itself. No, I can't do this, he muttered. But even as he said the words, his hand reached toward the controls, his body moving with a memory that wasn't his. The screens lit up, showing Earth in distant orbit, cities shining like fragile jewels. Against the darkness, your people live unaware of what approaches, the ship whispered. Will you let them fall? Ethan clenched his fists, his chest heavy with fear and anger. He wanted to scream that it wasn't his responsibility, but he could not ignore the faces of those he had just seen in the visions. The children, the soldiers, the desperate cries. For a leader, and worst of all, he could not ignore the strange certainty growing inside him, the sense that he had been through this before, that he had led before. The Starship's sensors displayed incoming data-distorted transmissions. Faint warnings from human colonies far beyond Earth. Ships disappearing without trace, stations falling silent, and survivors whispering a name feared for centuries. The Dominion. Ethan's hands shook as he stared at the data. The war wasn't just coming. It had already begun. Humanity was already bleeding. And no one knew. The AI spoke again, sharper this time. "Admiral, you swore to return when humanity needed you. That moment has come. You cannot run from it." Ethan shouted back, his voice raw. "I'm not Kane. I'm not a savior. I don't even know who I am anymore." But the ship's lights dimmed, almost sorrowful. "You are both Ethan and Kane. Two names, one destiny, and whether you accept it or not, you are the only one who can command me." Silence hung heavy in the chamber, broken only by the hum of engines. Outside, the desert night was torn apart as sand exploded upward. The buried starship rising slowly, shaking off centuries of weight. The dunes collapsed around it, revealing its vast size. A dark blade cutting against the stars. Ethan staggered as the ship lifted. The world he once knew falling away beneath him. He gripped the railing, staring out at the sky. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispered, his voice filled with fear. The eye answered softly, almost like a promise. "You do not need to remember everything. Admiral, instinct will guide you. Your soul remembers even if your mind does not." As the ship broke free of the desert sands, Ethan felt something shift deep inside. The fear remained, but alongside it came a flicker of resolve. A whisper of a leader long buried. The galaxy was stirring, war was rising, and though he tried to deny it, he knew he could not escape it forever. The starship soared into the night, engines blazing like a reborn sun. For the first time in 500 years, the Admiral's vessel had returned to the skies, and as the stars stretched before him, Eve realized the truth he had been avoiding. The rising threat was real. The Dominion was coming, and whether he was ready or not, humanity would soon need its Admiral again. The starship rose higher above the desert, its massive frame glowing with ancient power. Ethan gripped the railing inside the command chamber, his heart racing as the ground fell away beneath him. For the first time in centuries, the ship's engines roared across the skies, a forgotten beast returning to life. And yet, inside, Ethan's mind was chaos. Torn between the man he thought he was and the Admiral the ship insisted he must become. The AI's voice broke through the silence, calm but urgent. "Admiral, long-range scans confirm Dominion activity. They have already attacked an outer colony." Ethan's chest tightened. "Where?" A star map appeared in the air, glowing red markers spreading like wounds across the galaxy. "Colony Helios 9, the AI answered. "Population 200,000. Their distress signal was cut off mid-transmission. No reinforcements dispatched." Yet, Ethan stared at the red lights, anger and fear clashing inside him. He whispered, "They're killing them, and no one even knows." The AI's reply was steady. "You know, Admiral, and this vessel stands ready." The glowing command chair pulsed again. Waiting for him, Ethan hesitated, his breath heavy. But then memories flashed, burning worlds, desperate soldiers calling his name, fleets rallying under his command. He clenched his fists and stepped forward, his body trembling as he lowered himself into the chair. The ship reacted instantly, systems aligning, controls merging with his heartbeat, command link established. The AI announced, its voice almost relieved, "Welcome back, Admiral Kane." The moment he sat, Ethan felt something surge through him. Knowledge that wasn't his own flowed into his thoughts, ship movements, weapon systems, tactical formations. It was as if the vessel itself remembered how he fought, and now it shared those instincts with him. His hands moved across the panels with strange confidence, not learned but remembered, for the first time. Ethan felt what the AI had been saying. He wasn't only Ethan Walker. He was something more. The starship leapt into faster-than-light travel, the stars stretching into streaks of light. Ethan's stomach twisted, but his hands never faltered, guiding the ship with precision he didn't understand. The AI spoke. Again, ETA to Helios 9 2 minutes. Ethan swallowed hard. And if I can't do this? Then humanity will burn, the AI answered, without hesitation. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light with a violent shudder, and the sight before Ethan froze him. Helios 9 hung below, its green forests burning, cities collapsing under. Fire, alien warships circling like vultures. Screams echoed faintly across intercepted transmissions, families begging for help, soldiers crying for backup that would never come. Ethan's jaw tightened, his heart pounding. The Dominions. Ships were larger than he imagined, black and jagged, their weapons cutting through defenses with ease. The AI's voice rang in his ears. Orders, Admiral. Ethan froze for a second, staring at the destruction, doubt crushing him. But then something deep inside took over, a voice that felt older than his own whispered instructions. Target the lead ship, break their formation, hit them where they don't expect. The words spilled from his mouth before he even thought them. Arm plasma cannons, full charge, fire at the command vessel. The ship obeyed instantly, its ancient weapons glowing with blue light. A massive beam tore through the void, slamming into the Dominion's lead cruiser. The alien ship cracked apart, exploding in a storm of fire. The rest of the fleet staggered, their formation broken. Ethan's eyes widened. He had done it. The AI confirmed. Direct hit, enemy command vessel destroyed. But there was no time to celebrate. The remaining Dominion ships turned in fury, firing at him. The starship shook violently as beams slammed into its shields, the floor rattling under his feet. Ethan gripped the chair, his voice sharp now. Evasive maneuvers, counterattack with flak batteries, aim for their engines. The ship twisted with impossible grace, dodging blasts, firing back with deadly precision. Alien ships exploded one after another, caught off guard by a vessel they thought long dead. Across the burning colony below, survivors looked up, their eyes wide as they saw a single human starship battling the invaders. Hope sparked where there had only been despair on the emergency channels. Voices cried out in disbelief. Someone is fighting for us. It's a miracle. Inside the chamber, Ethan felt his fear fading, replaced by a fire that grew stronger with every order he gave. It was terrifying, yet exhilarating, as if his soul had been waiting centuries for this moment. Still, his body trembled when he realized what was happening. He was winning. He, Ethan Walker, was leading a battle like a man who had done this his entire life. The last Dominion ship broke formation, retreating into the void. The colony below was scarred but alive, its people saved. Ethan collapsed back into the chair, his chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. The AI's voice was calm, almost proud. Victory achieved. Just as before, Admiral. Ethan shook his head, whispering, "No. I'm not an admiral. I'm not Kane. I can't be." But even as he spoke, he knew the truth was clawing deeper into him. The ship had obeyed him perfectly. His instincts had guided every move, and the colony's survival proved what the AI had said all along. He was not just Ethan anymore. The first battle had begun. And with it, the return of the Admiral Asterisk. The battlefield was silent now. Only the burning wreckage of alien ships drifting among the stars. Ethan sat slumped in the glowing command chair, his chest rising and falling as if he had run a marathon. His hands still shook, his mind replaying every moment of the fight, every order he had given, every life saved. The colony below sent faint transmissions of gratitude, voices crying in relief. "Thank you, whoever you are, thank you." Ethan closed his eyes, whispering to himself, "That wasn't me. It couldn't be me." But deep down he knew the truth. The battle had felt too natural, too familiar. He hadn't guessed those commands. They had come to him like memories, like instincts. The ship's voice broke through the silence, calm and certain. You fought as you always have, Admiral. 5 centuries could not erase who you are, Ethan gritted his teeth. Stop calling me that. I'm not Kane. I'm Ethan Walker. The AI did not argue. Instead, it changed the chamber around him. Holograms flickered to life, revealing a hidden archive. One sealed until his first victory was achieved. The AI spoke softly. It is time you know the truth. The images unfolded. Laboratories, deep beneath the earth, scientists working around glowing pods. At the center was a man lying in a chamber, pale but alive. Ethan stepped closer, his stomach twisting. The man's face was his. This is impossible, he whispered, his voice weak. The AI explained. When Admiral Kane fell in the last battle, humanity refused to lose him forever. His DNA, his neural patterns, his very soul signature were preserved and prepared for rebirth. Ethan shook his head, backing away. You mean I'm a copy, a clone? The AI answered. Not a copy, Admiral. You are the continuation. Kane's essence was passed on, not just flesh but memory echoes. Instincts, the will to fight. You are both Ethan and Kane. 2 names, 1 destiny. Ethan's knees weakened. He fell against the railing, his breath shallow. All his life he had believed he was just a wanderer searching ruins for treasure, but now the truth burned inside him. He was the promise of a man reborn, the living answer to a vow made 500 years ago. The voice of his past echoed in the chamber again, his own voice recorded long ago. If I fall, I will rise again, and I will finish the war. Tears burned his eyes as fragments of memory struck him harder now. He saw himself not as Ethan, but as Kane leading fleets, holding dying soldiers' hands, whispering hope even as the galaxy burned. He remembered standing in this very ship, swearing to return. And now, against all reason, he clutched his head, whispering, No, I don't want this. I never asked for this. But the IS tone was gentle, unshaken. You are what you were always meant to be. Suddenly alarms blared again, the ship's sensors screaming with new warnings. Dominion fleets detected. Larger forces approaching Helios sector. The AI announced. Ethan's head snapped up, fear and fire mixing inside him. They're already coming back? Yes, the AI replied. And they will not stop until Earth itself is ash. Unless you lead. Ethan stumbled toward the viewport, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was living in peace, unaware that war was already on their doorstep. He thought of the colonists he had just saved, their desperate voices, their gratitude. Without him, they would have been slaughtered. Without him, all of humanity might face the same fate. He whispered, almost to himself. But if I become Kane, will there be anything left of Ethan? The IS reply was calm, but heavy. Perhaps not. Perhaps Ethan will fade. And Kane will rise completely. But is that not worth the survival of your people? The words struck deep, leaving Ethan silent. He did not want to lose himself. He did not want to vanish into a ghost of the past. But he could not escape the truth. The galaxy did not need Ethan Walker. It needed Admiral Kane. And whether he liked it or not, he was both. The Starship's engines roared again, turning toward the distant threat. The AI whispered one last time. The truth has been revealed, Admiral. Your choice remains, but time runs short. Will you embrace who you are, or will humanity fall? Ethan closed his eyes, torn between 2 lives, 2 names, 2 destinies. The galaxy waited in silence, the Dominion's shadow growing larger with every passing second. Asterisk. And though his voice shook with fear, deep inside the fire of Kane was rising. The truth was clear now. He was not just Ethan, not just Kane, but something greater, and the war was far from over. Asterisk. The ship cut through the void like a blade, its engines burning with ancient power, Ethan sat in the command chair, his eyes locked on the star map that glowed before him. The Dominion fleets were gathering, red markers spreading like blood across the galaxy. The war he had denied, the destiny he had tried to escape, was now rising in full force. His hands trembled on the armrests, his mind torn between two truths. He was Ethan Walker, a man who had lived in shadows, scavenging ruins, and running from responsibility. But he was also Admiral Kane, reborn through sacrifice and promise, carrying the weight of centuries and the hope of humanity. The AI's voice broke the silence. Calm but certain. The enemy grows stronger, Admiral. They will strike Earth soon. And if they succeed, the galaxy will follow. Ethan closed his eyes, memories and instincts colliding like storms in his mind. He saw battles fought long ago, soldiers saluting, fleets rallying, promises sworn in fire and blood. He heard his own voice echo across time, a vow made in his final hours. I will return. And now, sitting in the chair, he realized the truth he already had. The ship's alarms chimed. Incoming fleet detected. 30 Dominion warships advancing on Helios sector. Ethan opened his eyes, no longer trembling. A strange calm settling into his chest. Fear was still there, but alongside it burned resolve, the same fire that once defined Kane. He leaned forward, his voice steady for the first time. Then we fight, and we make them remember humanity is not broken. The Starship surged into battle, its cannons lighting the darkness with blazing arcs of energy. Alien ships swarmed like predators, their weapons slicing through the void. But Ethan's instincts guided him with impossible precision, his orders sharp and sure. Bank left, fire on their flank, cut their engines, target the carrier ship. Every command felt like déjà vu, as if the ghost of Kane fought alongside him, whispering through his own voice. Explosions tore through the Dominion fleet, their formation breaking under the fury of a single human vessel. Colonists watching from the scarred planet below shouted in disbelief. It's him, it has to be him. The Admiral has returned. Hope spread like wildfire, voices rising through the emergency channels, across the stars. Those who had given up suddenly found reason to believe again. The Dominion fought back with rage, their weapons striking hard, shaking the ship's shields to the edge of collapse. But Ethan refused to yield, every fiber of his being focused on survival. On victory, his voice rang out through the chamber. Not as Ethan, not as Kane, but as something greater. Hold the line. This is humanity's fight, and we will not fall. The battle raged like thunder, and one by one the Dominion ships fell. At last, their fleet shattered, the survivors retreating into the black void, leaving only silence and wreckage behind. Ethan leaned back in the chair, his chest heaving, his eyes staring at the stars. The AI spoke softly, almost with pride. Victory complete, Admiral. The galaxy will know you have returned. Ethan's hands gripped the armrests, his mind still wrestling with the truth. Was he Ethan Walker or Admiral Kane? Or was he now both, bound into one by destiny? He whispered to himself, if I lose Ethan, then let it be for something greater. The ship's lights glowed brighter, wrapping him in a halo of pale blue. You are the Admiral, the AI said, and humanity will follow you once more, across the surviving colonies. Messages spread like fire, whispers carried on every channel. The Admiral has returned, they said. The one who saved us 5 centuries ago lives again. Fear of the Dominion began to shift into courage, hope rising where despair had ruled. And though Ethan's heart still trembled, he could feel Kane's spirit within him, guiding him, shaping him. The war was far from over. The Dominion would return in greater numbers, with greater fury, but humanity would not face them broken and leaderless. They had their Starship again. They had their Admiral again, and though the galaxy whispered his name as Kane, Ethan knew a piece of himself still remained. Not Kane alone, not Ethan alone, but something greater than either. Humanity's answer to the rising storm. The ship sailed forward into the darkness, its engines burning like a beacon across the stars. And in the silence of space, a truth echoed through time once more. The Admiral had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same.